look like you or something like that,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised at all either. I mean, that might be part of the reason because she's from the Michigan area. Michigan, D.C., it's a pretty healthy drive.
Yeah.
And might just be going to the Invitational after this. So, going to start off here with a Wooded Foothills and Gataxian Probe. So, we're going to see what Anderson's working with. And there's a Brainstorm, a Force of Will, a Tropical, a Savannah, a Council's Judgment, and a Vendilion Click.
So from Todd, you're talking about being on the play, and generally that matters because if you have a single fetch land hand, you get to play that fetch, not get stifled. But in this case, Todd doesn't really have that luxury because if he gets that land wastelanded, then he has these 2 green duels in his hand that are not that great, don't really help cast his spells. So I feel like he's running the flats out there, hoping that Jadine uses her mana to play a Delver, Nimble Mongoose or something, and then doesn't have to fight over that stifle.
And there's a Trop. Pass the turn back. But Jadine does have a copy of Wasteland in hand to get that Trop off the table, so we'll see what ends up happening here. And again, JD didn't do anything on the first turn. No Brainstorm, no Ponder, no Delver, no Nimble. So you have to imagine that there's probably a Stifle over there.
Yeah, especially now when the Delver comes down on turn 2. It's like, sure, there's a chance that you drew that on turn 2, but it looks like a Stifle.
Touch suspicious. Here's a Brainstorm in response. Stoneforge Mystic, Stoneforge Mystic, and a Flooded Strand. So Anderson will have to put a couple of lands back here. You do see the Force of Will and the Vendilion Click, so there are some blue cards hanging out.
And if I'm Todd, I don't mind forcing here, but I could also see him not wanting to and instead trying to protect his Stoneforge Mystic.
It feels very take it or leave it to me.
Yeah.
And it looks like that's going to be good to go. So, in comes the Insectile Aberration. Imagine we'll see that flipping pretty soon. Delver's pretty, this Rook Delver deck's pretty good at doing that. There's Savannah. This is an attempt at a Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, so Stifle's great. Allows you to do things like daze, entice you to crack your fetch land, stifle your fetch.
Tell that they go really, really fast, too.
Yeah. He wanted no part of that.
Yeah. Does not want to let that land get stifled. Jadine does not flip Delver. We'll consult the grip. Don't forget, Todd has some experience playing Rook Delver. When he won his Invitational 2 years ago, he was playing Rook Delver in the Legacy portion and had to actually work his way through best of 5s with Rook Delver in the elimination rounds.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
See if Jadine's ever going to let this Stifle kind of wall go down. It's going to tap and play a Brainstorm.
I don't know. At this point, Todd has 2 lands, has access to that fetch land. You know he has a Force of Will and could potentially fight over the Stifle if he actually cared, if he needed it. So it might just be time to maybe shuffle that away and play the Goose.
Yeah, move past that, try to get a clock on the table.
Yeah.
Well, more of a clock. You've got the Delver already.
Right.
Now we're in like the Stifle sub game right now. But when does the sub game end?
Yeah, and he knows that Jadine saw his hand with Gataxian Probe a few turns earlier. As far as she knows, that could be his only black source, you know?
Anderson will draw a card. It's a Flooded Strand. He saw Todd want to play the Underground Sea, and now he's going to play it. And now there is a Stoneforge Mystic.
And this is also a pretty reasonable Stifle target. If Jadine is just like, well, you have 4 lands, you know, maybe you could just pull the trigger there as well.
Gonna go searching for Batterskull. And unlike Blue or Red Delver, playing a longer game against Batterskull for Rook Delver is not a place to be.
No.
You do not want that to happen. So Batterskull's in the grip, and that's looming. Klomparens will untap the Delver. You have to imagine it's going to flip now since Brainstorm did resolve, so top card. Ooh, no. I'm a little surprised. Maybe the texture of that hand is not very good, huh? There's a bolt over there for that. will cast it. See if Todd maybe wants to fight over this with force.
It's entirely possible. On the other hand, he's not that far from hardcasting Batterskull, but that is a little dangerous against Rug Delver with all their dazes and spell pierces.
Yeah. You have to be mighty confident to cast that with 5 mana.
Yeah. Could be a little ambitious.
You saw him reach to let it go. He's like, ah.
Yeah, second thought. Let's make sure we're sure.
Maybe have a little fight over this. I think maybe if you're going to fight over this, you crack the fetch land first.
Yeah,
And maybe force some action.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. And it looks like he's going to do that.
Yep.
And if nothing else, you can fight a counter war on Jadine's turn with the Force of Will, and especially this fetch land. And if things end up going your way, or even if they don't, you know, say you trade counter spells and your Mystic bites it, then maybe you still have 5 mana and can just untap it and cast the Batterskull after she's kind of exhausted all her resources.
So in that situation, and Jadine's going to go get another Volcanic Island, when you crack the fetch and she cracks the fetch in response, I feel like that might be the time where you pounce on the Lightning Bolt with the force.
Maybe. I mean, it doesn't change much, right? Like, the only thing that's really different is if she has 2 copies of Daze.
You can't pay for Spell Pierce now.
Oh, I understand, but you got to assume that. Oh, I guess yeah, she could. Well, no, there's nothing on the stack, right? Like he's just fetching. So.
Oh, so the bolt's on the stack targeting the Stoneforge.
Right.
So you crack your fetch.
Yep.
She cracks her fetch.
Yep.
And while she's cracking her fetch like that on the stack, you say, okay, force your bolt.
Right, but I mean, what happens if she just she fetches, lets the land come into play untapped, and then she just lets you fetch? Or if she stifles, she doesn't have spell pierce mana anyway.
Sure. Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. It's just like it doesn't really change anything. You could certainly pounce there, and like I said, double Daze is a consideration. It's definitely something she could have.
So now the stifle on the fetch land. We'll see if this resolves. And Todd wants to fight over them. He's got plenty of lands in his hand. He's got one more land. I don't say plenty, but okay. So all this is going to happen. Now Jadine's going to play Wasteland. Ooh. So now we're going after the mana.
The white mana this time.
Mm-hmm. And now an attack for 1. So playing that mana denial game because Todd is far away from casting Batterskull. Todd will draw. It's a polluted Delta. Sacrifices Flooded Strand right away. Might be time for Vendilion Click.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's a pretty reasonable card. You get to see what she's got going on, and it's a thing that can basically always trade with Insectile Aberration.
Gonna cast that. Will this resolve? Todd says target myself. Batterskull goes to the bottom. Saw this play in his last match as well. Draws a copy of Creeping Tar Pit. Pass it back, threatening to block with this thing. Delver checking. Not flipping.
Yeah, I think Todd's hope there was that he would draw a blue card to make his Force of Will live again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a snap trade.
Yeah.
Even though it's 1 damage instead of 3.
Yeah, I know you're only a 1/1, but you're going to be dangerous later.
Yeah. Here's a replacement Delver. Time for a Tarmogoyf too. Yep. You know it's the first Tarmogoyf that was cast today?
That we've seen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is number 1 in the semis.
That's crazy.
Anderson will draw. It's got to be a Deathrite Shaman.
I think it's time to vote.
Get the 4 or 5 off the table probably. Or at least try to. Yep, there's another white source. Gonna go get a scrub land. Yep, just working. I feel like Todd just working his way towards, wants to keep the life total high, obviously, as best he can. Don't take too much chip damage. Work yourself into lightning bolt range.
Yep.
And then try to get that Batterskull in play. Serious Council's Judgment. And if this does resolve, Tarmogoyf will be the vote. So there that goes. Here's an attempt at Deathrite Shaman that could get dazed. But it looks like that's going to resolve. So back to Jadine we go. Check for Delver. Still shy. Because Deathrite Shaman is a 1/2. Not attacking. There's a waste. Waste isn't bad. take care of that black-white land. Now here's the goose. And the goose is certainly loose.
Yeah, it appears to be loose.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's even close enough to the point where like Deathrite Shaman can go after that graveyard and shrink it down to manageable size, but
Todd drew a brainstorm for the turn, so could cast that now. There might be some interest. Well, I guess Batterskull's gone.
yeah.
He put that to the bottom, so that's not even the game plan anymore. It's not he's just going to cast Brainstorm because he needs action. So there's a Thoughtseize, there's a Wasteland, there's a Spell Pierce. That's not really what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, especially with no shuffler.
And if this Delver stops being shy, things get pretty ugly here now.
He does get a little breathing room from the Deathrite Shaman thanks to that tropical island, and shrinking Jadine's graveyard is probably what he wants to do anyway, and I know there's Delver of Secrets in there that he would like to exile, so I don't think he's in the worst position, but I do feel like after he draws past those Brainstorm cards, like he needs some help. But
Yeah,
by the time it gets there, he might be in trouble.
I was gonna say, I think Jadine's position is good as long as she flips the Delver, but that just hasn't happened yet. So
Yeah.
it's just going to be an attack for 3, which in reality is just an attack for 1 if Deathrite Shaman wants to gain life. But it looks like there's a follow-up threat. It's a second Mongoose. Now, yeah, got to force will that probably.
Yeah, otherwise things just get too out of hand.
So force will moving Spell Pierce there from Anderson. Jadine has a land and kicks it back. Still feels like, though, for Anderson, kind of living on borrowed time, getting a little bit fortunate here with those Delver. That Delver not flipping.
Yeah, certainly. Now he can play Wasteland, and he'll have mana to activate Creeping Tar Pit, threaten a trade with that Nimble Mongoose, still be able to exile something with Deathrite Shaman. And it looks like 9 cards in Jadine's graveyard, so he's got a little work to do, but almost there if something bad happens, like she draws a Lightning Bolt for the Creeping Tar Pit.
Yeah, there's a waste. Looks like Tarpit's going to play a little bit of defense.
Yeah, not really where Tar Pit wants to be, but it does have that option.
Yeah.
That mode is available.
I don't see that one trade very often. Gonna sacrifice the fetch line here. Klomparens. See if it's gonna be a. I imagine it'll be a trop. Yep, there
Yeah,
it is.
especially with Todd having that Wasteland out there.
Yep.
It's one thing to be fearful of Wasteland, but it's another thing for it to be just like staring you in the face when it's in play.
All right, we'll see what Jadine draws. See if we can flip the Delver already. There it is.
That's a ponder. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Maybe find another threat, keep the pressure on. Put another card in the graveyard also.
And now it is time to cast a ponder. So, hit 1, 2, and 3. It's a keeper. Another card in the graveyard for Mongoose and Red Zone. It's an attempt with the Tar Pits to get in front of the Mongoose. And it looks like the exchange will be made, so Delver chips in for 3. Anderson's going to gain, get the Mongoose out of there, back up to 12. I think he knows what this card is.
Yeah, I believe it's a Thoughtseize.
And that should be the last card he knows. So passes the turn back. So again, Jadine kept with the ponder. So she drew that card. She knows what this card's going to be too. It was clearly something that she liked. Well, we don't have a great look at what it is just yet. So this is a Brainstorm. Good card to keep. So now 3 cards coming, one of which she knows. So 2 of those are going to have to go back. Days among them. Looks like maybe a Wasteland too. I think there might also be a Ponder hanging around in there. So
Yeah, some good cards. Not actual action on its own, but certainly capable of finding some more.
there's a Foothills. Clear that out. Search for a land. I think the last card in her hand is a Ponder. Look at 3 fresh ones. So not the best brainstorm we've ever seen, but being able to just get a land out of your deck, shuffle away, and get 3 fresh looks is not the worst spot to be in. Game feels kind of even right now. Deathray Shaman's actually doing a really nice job of keeping Todd into it.
Yeah, certainly. But, you know, he's going to run out of food eventually, right?
Yeah. It feels like he's kind of living on borrowed time. 2, 3. That's a hasty shuffle. Did not like those cards at all. So
Any Tarmogoyfs.
that's probably the best draw. That's probably it. That or more redraws into Tarmogoyf. That's, I think, really all you can ask for. And Todd's top card is a mystery. He's gotten through his Brainstorm. An attack for 3. Anderson's going to go down to 9. And up to 11. As the Delver's gone. Let's see what this will be. I have no help. Underground Sea. Kick it back. Klomparens draws a card. In for 3 more. Anderson down to 8. Wasteland comes down. That can mess with the mana. Probably a pretty good idea to go after the white source. There that goes. You can make an argument for the green source there.
You could also make an argument for the black source.
Yeah.
I mean, Todd's mana costs are all over the place.
Yep.
He has Liliana of the Veil. That's certainly a card he could draw.
Gonna eat the Vendilion Click up to 10. I think there's a Stoneforge Mystic is the last card that's down there.
There's a couple left, I think.
Take a draw. Oh, another Deathrite. It's not so bad.
No, I mean, basically unlocks his mana sources, right? You know, now he definitely has all his colors, but another green source would be a little helpful. But again, he's going to run out of creatures eventually.
In for 3 more. Anderson down to 7 with the ability to go up to 9. Oh, he's... Ooh. We shifting gears?
Interesting.
When you draw second Deathrite, it's... makes that maybe kind of plausible. Yeah, down to 13. Huh. Down to 4, down to 9, down to 1, down to 5. Doesn't seem like the math breaks that way. Especially if a bolt works its way into the equation.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Todd might be in a spot where he doesn't really have the luxury of playing around Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, that's true. Brainstorm was the draw. Maybe a little fear of getting Brainstorm locked again.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if he brainstorms into a fetch lane, it goes from 7 to 6
Yeah.
to clear it up, and then 2-turn clock. I was going to move Stoneforge right now. Maybe try to play around Stifle a little bit there. And I guess actually removing a creature is part of the cost of activating the Deathrite Shaman.
No, it targets.
Is it target? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember using like Niall's Spellbomb to slow them down.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, and Relic of Progenitus too.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a Goyf.
That's certainly good. Todd has a couple potential chump blockers.
Ooh, snappy.
Have there been any Source of Plowshares yet this
I
game?
don't think so.
I don't think so either. Council's Judgment. I mean, I guess that's a thing. It's a little mana intensive.
I mean, especially against the taxing deck.
Yeah.
Jadine hasn't really done very much, so it's conceivable that she's drawn a card like Spell Pierce and just hasn't had anything to use it on.
Yeah, but also he has to tap his 2 Deathrights to potentially do that, which opens himself to getting Lightning Bolted out.
Yep. We can't forget he also just has Brainstorm in his hand.
Yeah.
That he hasn't cast yet. And that might be the easiest place to start. But he's got to make a move now. He's under the gun. He's going to start with Snappy. There's also the real chance here where he casts Council Judgment to take care of the Delver
Yeah.
and then try to chump block the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, you can use Snapcaster block, gain
Yeah.
2 life. Next turn, block with Deathrite, gain 2 life.
Charlotte's Bug wins game 1. Congratulations.
On what? I'm just sitting here, man.
Jake Mondello doing a really nice job, even though he has a 7 seed. Was paired against a 2 seed in the first round. So obviously he was on the draw, was able to get by there against Mud, and then up a game right now against Charlotte's Bant. The all value deck. Working its way through these elimination rounds. So Snapcaster got countered by Force of Will. And that was Jadine's last 2 cards, Force of Will and a Daze. So now Todd has to really consider Brainstorm yet again. And maybe he was leading with Snapcaster Mage to try to get Force of Will out of hand. You know, again, not too sure.
I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the spell you bait with, right? I do feel like he is very worried about getting Brainstorm locked again.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real fear.
It is.
I think, based off of what happened over the past couple of turns. Yep, into the red zone. Got a 4-5 Tarmogoyf, 3-2 Delver. It's an attack for 7. That would put Todd to -1, so if he gains 2, it puts him exactly at 1. So gonna remove Snappy, go up to 8. I guess in this situation, if you block, well, I guess you block Tarmogoyf if you get down to 5, so you're not dead to Lightning Bolt. But if Jadine had Lightning Bolt, maybe she Lightning Bolts this Deathrite Shaman so it can't block. But it looks like Todd will block, and maybe we'll see him try to fire off this Brainstorm. Yep, add a blue mana. Okay, play Wasteland. Yep.
On the green source.
Uh-huh. Draw a card. Spell Pierce. Brainstorm. 1, 2, 3. Brick, brick, brick. Brainstorm does resolve. 3 lands with the draws. He has the ability to chump block here, but I'm not sure that he has the ability to get out of this situation.
Yeah, I mean, if he had a Swords to Plowshares, maybe Snapcaster Mage, but it doesn't look like that is a possibility.
Time to draw. Red zone. Block Tarmogoyf. There will be a little bit of a drain here.
Yeah,
Put JD down to 8.
the Savannah's already gone.
Yep. Drop's gone too. Green sources are out of here. Eat the probe. Go down to 2. Yeah, well, yep, down to 1. I'm not sure there's a combination of cards that exist. He only gets 1 draw step.
Brainstorm into Tundra Snap Swords.
Okay. Yeah, Brainstorm's like whatever, just a mediocre card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, die to a top deck Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, yeah.
The hope
Yeah.
exists.
What happens every time? Yep. There's 2 lands that's going to do it. So Jadine, with a deep sigh of relief, does beat Todd game number 1.
Oh, finally.
Yeah, Rug.
Finally died.
Yeah, Rug Delver up a game here where Esper Death played. Back to the booth we are going to come here. It is time for our 6-month giveaway. We're talking a little bit quieter now because outside of Jerry and I and the directors and OP, I think there are 2 people playing Magic over there, and then 4 people playing Magic in the feature match area. So
Yeah.
we don't want to give away any information, obviously. But hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. Winner will be announced at the conclusion of our semifinal round. What do you got for me?
So, Jadine is playing Rug Delver. What is the burn spell in her main deck that is not Lightning Bolt?
Name it. And if you can, hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. And again, we will announce the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round. We go back to the match. We take a look at the sideboards here. We will take a look at Todd's first. Much like what we saw the last time, what do you like here against Rug Delver?
Well, we have 2 Pithing Needle, 1 Sword of Feast and Famine, 3 Meddling Mage, 2 Abrupt Decay, 1 Force of Will and Path to Exile, 2 Zealous Persecution, 1 Jace the Mind Sculptor, 1 Supreme Verdict, and 1 Thoughtseize. And not a whole lot of help here. You know, like the main deck is generally pretty good against Rug, but I do think the Supreme Verdict comes in. That is one of those cards that if Todd had the right mana, he could have cast on the last turn of that game to potentially save him. Abrupt Decay might come in just as an additional removal spell, but it is tough on the mana. You know, you do need like white for Council's Judgment, black for Liliana. Do you really want to strain that, adding in an additional color? Path to Exile Fist Swords to Plowshares, probably want that. Past that, not a ton of help.
I mean, this is the one matchup, I think, where Esper Deathblade gets punished for its mana. It seems like, for the most part, it's like kind of a free roll,
Yeah.
especially with Deathrite Shaman involved as well. But this is the one matchup, and you just saw in that game where she was kind of picking away with Wastelands and, playing the Stifle game and stuff like that, where, Red Delver is a land destruction deck in disguise.
Right.
That's what it is. I mean, it's classified as a tempo deck, and that's the right classification, but it also does play a land destruction game. And that game was able to cut Todd off of resources, and assuming Jadine works her way into Wastelands, she can decide just to peg certain lands, like certain colors of mana.
Yeah, I mean, that game went long, and if Todd didn't have access to Deathrite Shaman, he would have just been basically mana screwed almost the entire game.
Yeah. On Jadine's side, you see the 2 Grab Triggers Cage, 2 copies of Rough and Tumble, 3 Elemental Blast, 2 Submerge, a bunch of 1-ofs there in Pithing Needle, Sulfur Elemental, Sulfuric Vortex, an Ancient Grudge, a Crow's Grip, and then a Vendilion Click. Needle's like okay. It's good against the equipment and good against Deathrite Shaman, so I don't hate it there. I don't know if you want to invest a card in that, though.
Yeah, not really. I mean, if you're trying to get rid of a Deathrite Shaman, you'd rather just, like, bolt it or something, like, obviously you don't have too many of those, right? If you had more, you'd probably bring them in, but Needle doesn't really solve all the problems.
Like Grudge here?
I do like Grudge. It's one of the quick, easy answers to Batterskull, is not vulnerable to a counterspell or a Thoughtseize. Makes them have to have 2 things, which I think is great. Crow's Grip is kind of similar, where they can't counter it, but it's like, is that worth bringing in alongside Ancient Grudge to answer Todd's 2 equipment? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like it's narrow in its application, but what it kills is very important.
Yeah, that's certainly true, but like Sulfuric Vortex might be a better card for that role, where it shuts down the lifelink element or the life gain element from the Jitte, but also, does what she wants it to be doing, keeps dealing Todd damage.
All right, well, game number 2 will be underway here shortly, and Jake Mondello with Shardless Bug is up a game right now over Paul Lynch playing Shardless Bant. And Jadine is currently up 1 here over Todd Anderson.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, how much do you like Rough Tumble in this matchup?
I actually like a decent amount. I feel like Pyroclasm is pretty good against that deck.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to, sweep away, like what you would against, like, Elves, where you're like, I gotcha for 4 of your things. But I think that, because of how Rough Tumble works with this deck, it's the perfect Pyroclasm. No Mongoose is going to be above it. It's not, Tarmogoyf's not going to die, and, in perfect world, Delver is flipped into a flyer. So
right.
I think you get to, if you get to sweep away like a Deathrite Shaman and a Stoneforge Mystic, you have done a fantastic job.
Or 2 Deathrites.
Yeah.
Like that last game.
Yeah.
Would have been great.
I think you've done a fantastic job, and I almost certainly expect it to come in, as Todd is going to take a very quick mulligan. No interest in that hand.
Looked very land light, and that is certainly not the type of hand that you want to keep against the land destruction deck.
Yeah. Jadine is going to keep her 7 with a smile on her face. Again, a younger player here in Jadine from the Michigan area, making a name for herself. I imagine she'll be at the Invitational next week, and if she wasn't qualified before, she is now. Grand Prix Chicago runner-up with Black Devotion. I think that she put a lot of time in on Magic Online, qualified for her first Pro Tour Cons of Tarkir later this year, and beginning to make a name for herself on the Open Series circuit as well. Haven't seen a ton of her on this circuit yet, but
I'm sure we'll see more.
Yeah, I think so. And this is her 2nd time playing Rug Delver ever, and she's in the top 4 and up a game.
Yeah.
She's got some chops when it comes to Magic. Flooded Strand to go get a Tundra. Playing around Stifle, but can't play around Wasteland. A Gitaxian Probe will allow Jadine to find out if she has a Wasteland in her hand, if it's a good idea right now. It's a good idea.
It looks like a good idea.
Stoneforge Mystic Swords. You got Liliana, a Batterskull, and a Wasteland. If she has a Wasteland, it is a good idea.
This is a crying keep from Todd Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one where it's like, well, things could go well, or I could be leaving very soon.
Yep. Nimble Mongoose, Delver of Secrets. I think a Trop over there, a Ponder. I don't think there's a Wasteland, though. Nope. It's a Volcanic. Sigh of relief if you're Todd.
Yeah, certainly.
That's a Ponder. Might be looking for a Daze or a Forcible here to take care of the Mystic. Doesn't look like your hand has a Lightning Bolt in it. or any permission at this point.
There was a forked bolt.
Was there a fork bolt? Okay.
Yeah.
Going to consult the hand while resolving this ponder. And we'll keep. Over to Todd we will go. Anderson will draw a card to copy a ponder. Decisions here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really not sure if there's anything you can do except for kind of like hope and pray.
Is there like a world that exists where you go like ponder wasteland you?
I don't know.
I'm just asking. I don't think there is, but I'm just asking.
There's certainly a world that could possibly exist.
It seems very like easy to just say, yeah, you just cast Stoneforge Mystic and like you just cross your fingers and hope you get to like do it, and that's what he's gonna do. But
Yeah.
I think he was actually giving thought to like ponder wasteland you, like try to get you
Yeah.
in your 18 land deck. Yeah, there's Chite.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly tough to make this Stoneforge play, hoping that it's like the safe play and maybe it works out. But it's just like she just cast a ponder and kept.
Yeah.
So
All right. There's a woof. There's wasteland. And the forked bolt too. Yep.
just in case.
Todd will draw a card. Yeah, now he's going to fire off. Pass the turn back. Neither player has lands, except for Jadine does have one. And now it's probably time to get a threat on the board. It's a Delver of Secrets. Todd's going to have to run a couple off. He's 0 for 1. Kick it back. Jadine checking, not flipping.
We've seen Todd landless before.
Yeah.
But in that one, he wasn't really under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, he's about to be. Because here's no Mongoose as well. Not sure the graveyard count, but we're very close to threshold if we're not there yet. Looks like there are 5 down there. 6 if you count the foothills that's in play. There's a Trop. Now there's a Ponder. Gonna sacrifice this wooded foothill. 6 cards in the graveyard. And if this gets countered, that'll be 7. See if it'll be a volcanic or a Trop. It'll be a second Trop. And a Spell Pierce on the Ponder. Checking. Ensuring
Yeah.
that we are flipping because it's time to get this game over with. And I like this Brainstorm a lot here. You know, he's at the top of the deck.
Yep.
18 is a nice life total to hit in 6-point increments, make it a 3-turn clock. And Todd is going to have to run better than perfect to get out of this.
Does such a thing exist?
Yeah. Ponder goes to the hand. And for a couple of points, let's make it 6.
Yeah. Double check that graveyard just to make sure.
There's a Foothills. Sacrifice this. I imagine this is going to go get Volcanic.
And I feel like a Tarmogoyf is coming down.
I'm in agreement with you.
I think now Todd has to run better than perfect.
The Terminus in his deck? Oh, Nimble, you don't get to play.
Well, Supreme Verdict, but
Ugh.
ways off.
Yeah. And there's a Tarmogoyf now, too. Not sure the size of that thing. We will get our Tarmogoyf out there for you guys at home. Make sure we do know exactly how big the Lurgoyf is. Anderson's going to draw a card. It's an Underground Sea. I don't think he has a decay. Okay, now I take it back. He does. I was like, I don't think he has a decay, but he does.
Where'd that come from?
Yep. This is a Ponder. Hit 1 and 2 and 3.
And this is one of the scary parts about the rug deck, right? Where it's like they're presenting on clock, you're behind, you're trying to answer threats. Meanwhile, they just keep playing cantrip, cantrip,
Yep.
cantrip, sculpting their hand. Oh, look, found another threat. Oh, yeah, here's another Tarmogoyf.
Tarmogoyf.
That's weird.
Draw a card, pack it up. Jadine Klomparens does defeat Todd Anderson 2-0, and Rug Delver is moving on to the finals. Very well played games.